over the place. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
Oh, I love it. There's nothing subtle about Stefan. Way wonderful. Thank you so much. And that song and others are available on CDs that she's got, and they are available in the lobby after the service is over. So thank you so much. I'm Kathianne Lewis. Fun to welcome you. It's I took a preview of this service, and it's fairly good. So really grateful that you could be with us today. There's a few things that I want to say before we do too much, and one of them is that after this service is over, if you are in resonance with what we're talking about, what we're proclaiming, what we're praying about, what we do here, we'd love to have you fill out a connection card. Now, the connection cards are in some of the seat backs. By the way, everything changed. Did you notice everything changed? So, well, you didn't notice. Okay, never mind. Never mind. Anyway, there's some of them are available in the seat backs in front of you, and then if you don't see one in the seat back, then they're always available in the offering basket as it goes by later. So I encourage you to pick one up and fill it out, return it to me or anyone with a name tag, and we'll make sure that you get on our virtual family email and mail lists, because there's a lot of things that we do here besides Sunday. We are always having something go on, so I'd like to let you know more about that. The other thing that I want to do is just take a moment to walk our talk. Now, so what's our walk? Well, if I walked, then you'd know what I talked. So how about let's do it the other way. What's our talk? Our talk is that everyone is equal in the eyes of God, that everyone is special, that there was no one so special that they need to have more reverence than someone else. So the walk of that is that if you're having a birthday, we want to love you, bless you, and celebrate you. So wave your hand or stand up. There's a birthday. There's a birthday way back there. Way back there. Oh, you just remembered? Well,
I don't get two. It was middle of last week, and I came both weekends.
Go ahead. Well, no, really, you know what? I like a guy that knows a loophole. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, it's the way the nation was built, so it's so cool.
So I invite you to just look up. Whether your eyes are open or closed, just take your eyes up a little bit. And view love from a higher place. View the idea that there is only love, letting fear and worry fall away, that there is only love. Let that vision just fill you. Let that feeling fill you. There is only love. And what I know about love is that every time we choose love, it is a new beginning for us. A brand new beginning. All else just dissolves and falls away, and love is all that's there. There is only love. And so we open up this time together called Sunday service, recognizing that in this service there is only love. There is that love of the music coming forward to lift us higher. There is that love of the message that is meant to inspire and instigate newness in us. There is that love of community. There is a new beginning in this service, and this service is a microcosm of our life. For if we take love out into our lives, we will experience something new, something wonderful. And so, in this moment, as this service we know only love. As we connect with the music, the message, and each other, there is only love. And as we take this out into the world, oh, something new is happening. And so I call this service great. I call this coming week great. I know it is good. It is God. It is love. And so it is. Amen.
One of my favorite songs. Because you know, this is like fall. Things are changing. Have you noticed? I know you haven't noticed because we're still in our 80s. But okay, take a deep breath. Winter is coming. I'm sorry. You know, you might all just have to go get the vapors now. Have the vapors. Winter's coming. Things change, but let's make it new. Make it good. You know, if I am in a bad place, I want to know, and I want to sing, and I want to tell a spirit or something out there. Make it new. Bring it on. We'd like a little healing here. And if I'm at the mountaintop, and I think I've made it, oh, that's a great place to slip from, honey bunnies. I just called you honey bunnies. Anyway, just all go, anyway. But if you're at the mountaintop, you can slip, and the only way to not slip is to say, you know what, there's even something else, bring it on. So I want to introduce to you one of our power talkers, well, the power talker for today, and one of the long line of exceptional power talkers that we've had, because you know what, she kept saying, make it new, make it new, make it new. McKenna Phillips.
Thank you. My name is McKenna Phillips, and I am a living, breathing demonstration for the Better Business Breakfast. I love the BBB. It is the place where I really began my spiritual journey. So what it's done for me is it's really transformed me, the life of my business, and the people that I do business with. And so I am truly, truly grateful to that ministry. But that's not where I started. Where I started was, what brought me to CSL, was sitting in a 12-step fellowship. And what I noticed was the people that were there that had that twinkle in their eye, that seemed to be able to weather the storms of life, were the people that had a really strong spiritual grounding, a really strong spiritual program. And so I came to CSL and seeking that, and I've gotten so much more. So I started going to the BBB, and because one of the things that was running me was this belief that I was flawed, that I was a mistake, that there was something wrong with me. And my business felt like a mess as well. So when I heard about the BBB, I showed up. And this is how Spirit works in my life. But I brought that brokenness and that unknowingness and that garbly-gook that was in my head, and I just brought it all to the BBB. And the first lesson was that Reverend Sharon was talking about was I didn't need to know how to do anything, because God knows how to do everything. And that was so cool. So give her a hand. That was awesome. Because what that really did was, I didn't know it at the time, but it planted a seed that changed my relationship with God. And so I kept coming, and I kept showing up, and kept going to not only the BBB, but afterwards they have a workshop. And I would go and I worked on my consciousness, and I just kept showing up. And Reverend Sharon just kept telling me that, you know, anything I was worried about, that's God's job. That my job was just to love and just to have fun. I love my job. I love how this partnership works. So that after that first year, my business had grown 15%. And the second year, I took a class called God is Your Business Partner by Mae McCarthy, CSO, your Chief Spiritual Officer. And what that class gave me was a daily practice that made sense. It taught me that my first meeting of every day is with Spirit, and that I work with Spirit just like I would work with any other coworker in my business. We just sit down together and we decide what needs to get done. And again, my job is to just love and have fun. And Spirit gets to do everything else. So that is really cool. And I put Spirit in charge of my finances right off, because I still believe in lack and limitation, and Spirit is abundant, so I put Spirit in charge of finances. So if anytime that there's a financial issue in my business, I don't have a problem. God has a problem. So I love that. And so I kept showing up, and that second year my business grew 26%, which is really cool. Last year I went to Inward Journey with Kathianne, and my business started growing even further and further as I did my work. It was 38%. And as we showed up at the Mystic Mind Retreat in March, we transformed my relationship with Spirit even further, where it became much more intimate. Kathianne had us court God, like our lover, like a partner. And so I went from this working relationship with God to an intimate relationship with God. And you know how like you're in love and you just, everything you see reminds you of that person, and everything you hear reminds you? That started happening with my relationship with God, and that transformed me. And out of the Mystic Mind, I just focused just on that relationship. I didn't even focus anything on my business. And since that time, we've grown 71%. So I just, thank you. But even more than that, that piece of me that felt broken, that felt like there was something flawed or something wrong, that's been healed. It still whispers sometimes, but it's been lifted. And so I know that if, excuse me, if there's people here that feel that way, I'm so glad you're here. And what I know is that you're not alone, and that there is a divine intelligence working in you now. Even if you don't have faith in yourself, there's an intelligence working in you because it brought you here. So I am so grateful. Thank you.
If you notice behind me, it says that the talk title for today is The Power to Lift. I have no idea what that was about. Really, I came up with it a long time ago, and I got on the web to see what I was supposed to be talking about today, and I thought, who did that title? And why? And it was me. And I don't know why, except perhaps McKenna is here to lift us. Because when you have a transformed life, you have the power to lift. You just have the power to lift. It just lifts. Also, early this morning, I was, on Sunday mornings, I write the first thing that comes to mind on Facebook, and this is what I wrote. So I'm really saying it to myself. Get up, rise up, suit up, and raise up others with your warmth and smile today. You may be someone else's bright spot, so be ready. So that's kind of what happens. When we shift, we are lifting. So there's that. Good. That talk's done. And now I want to talk about what I really want to talk about. Many of you have heard the idea that how you do anything, you do everything. Has anybody heard that? How you do anything? Well, for those of you that didn't raise your hand, here's the deal. How you do anything is the way you do everything. So when you observe anything, you're observing probably what you're doing with everything, but you just didn't know it. And that's really becoming clear to me recently, and I'll tell you more about that. But I want to talk about it because when we move into September, I naturally go into sort of a learning stage. It's, school, we can't go through that many years of school and not have September be significant in our psyche. So let's know that this is a time, and the theme for this month is this is a time to learn. Now's the time to learn again, and to keep on learning. Because if we learn one thing in one area, we're going to learn things in every area. It will shift everything. We can't learn something new and not be made new. I mean, be made new. To learn something really new will make us new in lots of ways. So, you know, I was thinking about this last night, and I got on a terror in my own head. I have these really great conversations in my head. And one of the conversations I had was I had this argument against no one that was arguing with me. But they have in the past. And so I'm still carrying on the conversation. How many of you do that? Like, you had this conversation with somebody and they go away and you're still having the conversation. Well, I was still having the conversation, and here's how the conversation went. Why did Jesus have to go to India to get inspired and enlightened? And because there's these books out there. He went to India. And why did Jesus have to go to the Great Britain to get his wisdom from the Celts or the Druids? It's like, why? Why couldn't he just get it? Do you see that if we make like he had to go somewhere, we're telling everybody you can't get information and wisdom and great learning right where you are? That's craziness. They just could not accept that maybe he just was smart. Just smart. A spiritual prodigy. And maybe he learned everything he needed to know to create such great wisdom that could be passed down. I'm not saying everything that I read is true, but I believe that there was great wisdom being passed down. That's why we keep repeating it. That maybe the wisdom just came out of observing what was going on. Why are all the parables nature-based? Judge Thomas Troward, one of the greatest metaphysicians in the 1800s, said, I only read 2 books. One's the Bible and one's just nature. You watch nature, you'll learn everything. Maybe Buddha was not enlightened because he sat under a Bodhi tree. Maybe he was enlightened because he sat under that Bodhi tree, he was exhausted, and then he figured out, this tree's not struggling. I'm having all these temptations. This tree's not been tempted. Maybe he just paid attention. If you listen to the wisdom of Lao Tzu in the Tao Te Ching, or you read it, it's all about what nature's just making obvious. It's just obvious if you pay attention. So, getting back to learning, I want to tell you my learning story because it's changing me, and I want to encourage you to just learn something. Learn something. Sure, I'd like you to take one of our classes, but I don't care if you take one of our classes, but I hope you go and learn something. Because if you learn anything, really learn something, it's going to change everything. So one of the things that I'm doing right now is I'm on my 5th writing instructor, who is my new avatar. Actually, she's just an avatar. She's crazy, weird, enlightened being who doesn't even know it. So she'll say things to me like, this is direct quote. I almost fall out of the saddle every time. Well, Kathianne, it's not what you do, it's what you intend to have happen that the horse will read. You need to think more and visualize more and do less. You can't control the horse and have a true partnership with it. Oh, hated that one. Hated that one. Hated it. Hated it. Because I come out of the old school where you continually tell the horse, be aware, because you don't know what the horse will do. And this is actually a very young horse, so you don't know what he'll do. He's a 3, which is the equivalent of 15. I mean, how many of you understood what your 15-year-old was doing? So anyway, it's just amazing what this is setting up. So I'm learning again. And I want to talk about learning. I want to talk about the process of learning, because learning is the end result of doing some things. So even if you do it through a class, or you do it through listening to my talk, or you do it through taking Chinese cooking class or a martial arts class. I don't care. You're going to do it. This is the process that you will go through, and eventually you'll have learning. So here's what you do. First of all, in the process of learning, and by the way, I need to explain what learning is. Learning is what's left when you've forgotten what you either heard or read. Learning is what's left when you've forgotten what you heard or read. Because we've all how many of you have ever taken a class? How many of you went to college? How many of you went to school, grade school? Do you remember anything? I mean, really. But you learned things. Learning is what's left, isn't it? To really learn, you have to do 4 things. The first one is you've got to think about it. So a professor or a teacher or a writing instructor presents you with some information, and you've got to think about it. Hopefully, it's beyond what you've already thought about, because most of the time we just think about what we think about. We think about what we think about. We think some more about what we think about. And then we see what we think about, and we think about it. I think it was George Bernard Shaw who said, I have been successful because I make it a habit to think at least 3 times a week. And what he meant was something that he hadn't already thought. Outside the norm. You think. And so hopefully we expose ourselves to places, people, and things that make us think outside our norm. This is a new way of writing, so she's making me think outside my norm. Out of the, don't let them get out of the place. In fact, I don't even want to get into it because that would be negative. Ooh. I'm having an impeccable moment. For those of you that study the 4 agreements, I'm being impeccable with my word and not making the other things bad. But this is new for me, so I have to think outside my little horsey box. Think of things that you had to wrestle with for a while. It's not bad that you wrestled with them. Most likely you wrestled with them because something inside of you said, yay and amen, and your mind, the way you think, still said, I don't know, I don't like it, this is weird. I mean, don't a lot of you sometimes encounter that in life itself? And you probably encountered it when you first came here. I remember when I first started going to my first metaphysical church in Eugene, Oregon, I loved everything about it. Loved everything. I loved the idea that God was good, that we weren't going to hell, that the universe was in a conspiracy for my benefit. I loved it all. And then they said that God wasn't a man. I didn't like that. Did not like that. That was wrong. My mind went, tilt. Nope, because it had been masculine for so long, it was hard to imagine a non-masculine deity. But when I kept thinking about it, I thought, well, why would the universe be completely masculine? Where'd the feminine even come from if the whole universe is completely masculine? So it took a time for me to think until I could get to the place where it was almost acceptable in my mind. We have to think about things. If you take Beyond Limits, what you're going to do is you're going to be challenged to think in new ways. Think new things about God. Think new things about you. Think new things about the power of your thought. Think new things about the power of collective consciousness. And you don't have to believe it. But you will be asked to think about it. Now, thinking about things won't really get you very far. How many of you have thought about things? That whole thing about change your thinking and change your life is a bunch of hooey. Now, I say that because I know somebody just went, you almost thought lightning was coming down, didn't you? I saw you, sweetheart, go, oh, this is really bad. Ernest Holmes is going to get her. No, because if you just think, it won't get you far. You have to change consciousness. the thinking has to change consciousness, and one of the ways to change consciousness is to add to your thinking doing. Add to your thinking feeling. Add to that thought. So you are eventually asked to do something. You're eventually asked to go beyond what you had been doing previously. So in this particular teaching, we ask you to stop yourself when you find yourself in negative self-chatter. We ask you to stop yourself when you're accusing others of something. You don't have to, but that starts to add to the thought that all are created in the love and the power of God. We ask that you try on this new belief by perhaps adding affirmations to your life, or by being grateful, or by acknowledging other people. We ask because the thinking has to move into some sort of doing, and it shifts consciousness. Because otherwise, we can sit on our bed in a lotus position and om all we want. But if it doesn't make it off the bed, it isn't real. And that's even part of what our prayer is called. It's called realization. You know, it's like you've got to realize it in here as well as just in your head. So we make it real by doing something. I have to make it real in my riding by not moving my legs to get my horse to go. And I'm from the old school. You give him a good kick. You know, it's like everything in me wants to go, oh, don't go. No, let it be his idea. Intend it. Don't do it, Kathianne. You know what? She was right. When I actually just looked forward and just breathed and moved my leg out like I was going to kick, he moved forward. You have to try it out. When you try it out, you will start to experience things. So first is thinking, next is doing, then there is experiencing. And experiencing is where it gets really fun. I mean, McKenna was talking about being an inward journey, and two people from inward journey, during the process of inward journey, I watched them be released from their jobs. Now, how many of you, if released from your jobs, would get a little panic-stricken? It's okay to admit it. Only a few of you. Really? Who would be panic-stricken if you were released from your job? Did you know that truth heals? We don't do phony metaphysics here. No, I would never be panic-stricken. Yes, you would. Some of you would. Some of you would. Just saying. These two people, I watched them move through it with grace and ease and confidence, and they weren't sweating or anything. They were like, oh, well, obviously, we wanted to let go of this job anyway, and we're going to go on to something great. I can't wait. I watched them. They had changed internally and externally, because the internal must precede the external. Externally, they started to get contract jobs. McKenna shifted. You know, by trusting God more, guess what? God showed up more. It's the way it works. One of the reasons that I like going to the Better Business Breakfast, and it is at 7 o'clock on Tuesday mornings, and I live in Snohomish, but I did go this summer, and I loved it, and it was worth it just by hearing what people had accomplished from 1 month to the next, from one meeting to the next. Miracles are happening. There's an external confirmation of an internal shift. So that's all that. Then what happens then is that you come to understand, which is the fourth thing. What you come to understand is what you've really learned. And I love that. Otherwise, it's theory and it's conversation. And it's your idea and your opinion with someone else's idea and opinion. And all there can be then is a war of opinions. How many of you have ever had that around Thanksgiving? You know, and I used to love that because I was raised I wasn't raised. My family was agnostic and atheist, but I considered myself a born-again Christian, and I studied the Bible right and left, and oh man, I could sling those sayings. Tennis. You know, I wasn't a Bible thumper, I was a Bible slinger. And well, I was never good at sports, so I had to do something. Anyway, why did I go there? Anyway, so what I want to say is that what you understand and you really learn, you'll always be able to incorporate into everything. That's what's really true. And that gets you out of having to argue for your point, because you just are who you've become, which is the result of your learning. And there's no need to argue. There's no need to know better or know what's right. You just are who you are. And it speaks for itself, just like McKenna speaks for herself. She doesn't need to justify what she does or what she believes. She just is who she is. The learning, though, will spread out into everything. See, I was wondering that perhaps Jesus was raised by his mom, and he noticed that you could put a little bit of leaven in some dough and pretty soon it would rise up, and he thought, it probably wouldn't take much God or Spirit to raise up our people or to raise up my soul. It wouldn't take much, and so parables were formed. What he learned in the kitchen, perhaps he applied to everything. So what I learned in my horseback riding lesson lately is something very important that I probably needed to learn, that was probably always out there, because the universe is always in a conspiracy for our benefit. And what that means is it's not in a conspiracy for our comfort, it's in a conspiracy for our benefit. I hate that, but it's true. See, my comfort means that I don't have to move and everything comes to me and it's always for me, and it's very me-centric, and it's all about nobody comes to this church like that, but people out in the world. And so it's very this centric, and yet God wants to let us connect with everything and see that everything is connected, and that there's nothing outside the realm of possibility, and there's nothing that we can't influence because we're connected to everything. So as it is in a conspiracy for our benefit, so that we can see the grandness and the connection of life itself and know eternal life before we die, as it's all working that stuff out for us, well then we are sometimes pushed into the lesson that we need to have, and perhaps it will show up when you take a pottery class. So what I learned through horseback riding lessons is that perhaps one of the reasons why so many things in my life have not worked well is because I didn't know how to do partnership, because I wouldn't release control. Now, I must say that with my current husband, we actually have a great relationship because he knows I'm a controller and he tells me not to. He is a very, very old soul, and he'll say things like, Kathianne, I don't try to change you. Not that you couldn't use advice. But I don't. So I know you would never try to change me. Right. Yeah. So without control, I am in the best partnership I've ever had in my life. You release control and you get a partnership. Otherwise, you just have a forced two-step. And this is a dance. I learned that by riding a horse. And I also get to see the times that I've wanted to have partnerships in other ways, whether it's with staff or volunteers or my peers. Perhaps I didn't want a partnership. Really what I wanted them to just do what I kicked them into doing. Learning a thing here informs everything. Now, I may forget my trainer's name eventually, and I may forget how I came to know about partnership, but I've learned it, so I'll never forget the learning. I can never lose the understanding, but I can build on that understanding, because learning of any kind is just a step to the next learning, and a step and a step. One of the other things my avatar horse trainer says is that she says, and she gets all excited. I mean, this truly, she blows my mind. She goes, oh, and what's so exciting, really, she does it like this, and what's so exciting is that there's no end to the subtlety and the depth of the relationship you can have with your horse. And there's no end to the learning. It's so fantastic. You could go on forever. I'm going, who are you? Where did you come from? You are scary. Did she seem just like me? That's what was scary. I don't think I ever had a daughter and gave her away. Maybe it was a dream. So let's just think about something that you have come to understand. Now expand that understanding and see how it applies to so many things. Because what we learn in one area, we can learn in any area. There's no lack. And so while Joel plays music really lovely, because I lowered my voice, so he thought it was time to play music. I love that. What I also realize is that while my instructor has a way to bring out the best in me, one of the talents that I have, not a talent, but an ability, is that since I was a very small girl, I was good at prayer. And I didn't understand why anyone would live without God, because it seemed like with prayer, anything could happen. So I want to pray for us more, because that's really, all this stuff is just talk. But prayer's sneaky. Prayer will go off at just the right time. So who has a prayer request? Peter? Health. So you'd like better health or less health? Better health. Okay, who else would like some better health? Okay, cool. We'll do health. Yes?
Releasing control with ease.
Yeah. Oh, test. It's a test, right? She wants to release control with ease. Okay. Well, okay, so releasing control with ease. Listen to me, I can't even say it out loud. It seems to be easy to accept health. Releasing control with ease. All right, cool. And one more. Right. What kind of miracles? I mean, you're breathing, aren't you?
I am. Yeah. My brother-in-law was just sleeping 3 months.
So you want to be the place where you believe in God. Yeah, okay. All righty, so we have health, that for all of us, believing in God showing up for all of us, and the releasing of control for all of us. Okay, so maybe you haven't totally learned this. Because I'm so willing to forget. Oh, baby. All right, well, now you see how it goes. I am Exhibit A. All right, so let's pray. There's a song that I really enjoy, and we sang it the first service, but we don't have that much time, so I'm just going to say the words, and I'd like you, when you want to join me in those words. And the words are, I am. Put your hand over your heart. I am as God created me, in the light, and in the love, and in the glory. I am as God created me, in the light, and in the love, and in the glory. So that means that I believe that God is life. All that lives is God in action, God in form, and God in movement. And I am, and I know that God is love. And love is the glue of the universe. It draws me to others. It allows me to know others. It allows me to include and be included. Love is that which supports. It is the great Vishnu of the universe. That which sustains is love. And glory. Oh my goodness, let's step into that. For God is glorious. God is awesome. God is creator and creation and should absolutely boggle our minds. God is that which can create a body of so many cells and organs and functions. Who could have dreamed that up? We can't be an accident. So we are created out of the creative energy of the universe itself. We are created as God created us, in life, in love, in glory. We are that. So take that in. Allow yourself to hear this. You are as God created you. In the life, in the love, in the glory of God, you live, you move, and you have your existence. That is true for all of us. We take that in, and in knowing that God is this and we are its expression, I now speak my word that the health of our bodies is a reflection of that life, God's life. God's wisdom and intelligence flows through every cell and every function. We are allowing God to live us, and we surrender this body. We care for it as the temple, but we do not need to change it. God changes us because this is God's body. This is the temple of the Most High with 2 feet. And we honor it as we would the most holy of holies. God is, I am. We are the reflection of that life, and we let that life heal us and reveal wholeness in us right here and right now. And so I give thanks that we are also moving into a very true experience of releasing how it must happen. Take a deep breath. One of the things that Lao Tzu and Buddha and Jesus observed is that nature does not struggle. So why should we? And so I accept for each and every one of us the ease of releasing control. For truly, 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 how arrogant to think we could control the world. How arrogant to think that we could really control another. And so it is the sweet Spirit moving through us that releases those ideas, and we just calmly accept our partnership with others and with life itself. We are as God created us. We are as God created us. And I give thanks that I can accept one last thing, and that is that if we are as God created us, we are also the place where God's promises of well-being reside and live, not as a fable and not as a platitude. But I give thanks that each and every one of us can breathe deeply into our part of the unfoldment of goodness on this planet. If others need comfort, we can be there. If others need encouragement, we can be there. If others need faith, we can be that. I give thanks that we really own our part of an unfolding divine plan. And we live from it, and we move in it, and we breathe it, and we exude it, and we are it. And I speak my word for a miracle for all of us. And it is so done. And so it is. Take our gift. Oh, and also, hello. I forgot. Our viewing audience, so grateful. There's a donate button there somewhere. I've never said that before. Hello. Oh, I love this. Life is good, you guys. Just move into how good it is. The fullness of it. I'm so grateful for whoever comes up with our images. The sunflowers today were so cheerful. The music is so good. I'm so grateful for Jal, who, Phil, just, oh, you're so good. Just like that wonderful frosting in between Oreos cookies. He just makes it right, holds everything together in the music. It's beautiful. Everything is so good. Go with that. Go into your heart and find the good. Name it, exclaim it, celebrate it. Don't wait. And from that place, bless your gift, so that your blessing and the goodness of your heart gets all over it. And we are richly blessed by all of it. Thank you, God, and so it is.